Media Production and Literacy, the Diagrams, Unit 1. This week, we are beginning our introduction to media production and media literacy through a series of diagrams and practical demonstrations. Now, on Tuesdays, this course is primarily focused on demonstrations and guided walkthroughs. That means we are going to look at tools, platforms, workflows, and basic production processes together. Thursday sessions are more focused on support, discussion, and the theoretical side of media and communication, especially for those who want additional help or deeper exploration of the concepts. So think of Tuesday as "let's try this," and Thursday as "let's think about what this means." Slide 2, Unit 1, Overview. This slide outlines the major steps for completing Unit 1. The first thing I would like everyone to do is simply become familiar with the course structure and environment. You will watch the introductory videos, set up or connect a YouTube account, choose a poem from the list provided, and begin experimenting with media tools and workflows. One important note: you do not need to be an expert at any of this already. This course is designed around gradual skill building. You will also notice that we are using YouTube as a kind of shared virtual campus commons. The goal here is not public performance, but learning how media circulates through digital systems. And again, remember, by the end of Unit 2, everyone will upload something to YouTube using the unlisted setting, meaning it will not be publicly searchable. Slide 3. Creating a YouTube channel. This diagram gives a very simplified overview of the YouTube channel creation process. The important thing to understand here is that a YouTube channel is not just a place where videos live. It is also a media identity. Even basic choices like channel names, profile images, banners, and descriptions begin shaping audience expectations immediately. In other words, media production begins before the video even starts. For this course, simplicity is perfectly acceptable. You do not need flashy branding or elaborate graphics. The goal is simply to create a functional production space where you can experiment, upload work, and organize projects. Slide 4. Screen capture. Windows versus Mac. One of the most important practical skills in digital media production is learning how to capture material from your own screen. This diagram compares some common screen capture methods for Windows and Mac systems. For Windows users, tools like Snipping Tool, Print Screen, and Game Bar can help capture both images and video. For Mac users, keyboard shortcuts allow quick screen captures and recordings directly through the operating system. Please do not worry about memorizing all of these shortcuts immediately. The purpose of this slide is simply to show that modern media production often begins with very ordinary tools already built into the devices we use every day. Slide 5. What media is versus what media does. This is one of the key conceptual diagrams for the week. The left side of the diagram focuses on what media is, the platforms, technologies, devices, and systems through which communication happens. The right side focuses on what media does, how it informs, persuades, connects, influences, entertains, and shapes culture. This distinction is important because media is never neutral. Different media forms encourage different behaviors, emotional responses, and communication patterns. For example, a printed newspaper, a live stream, a TikTok clip, and a university lecture all communicate differently, even when discussing the same topic. Part of media literacy is learning to recognize those structural differences. Slide 6, McLuhan. The medium is the message. This slide introduces Marshall McLuhan, one of the most influential media theorists of the 20th century. McLuhan argued that the form of media changes society just as much as the content carried within it. In other words, the structure of communication matters. A social media platform affects thought differently than a printed book. Television affects attention differently than radio, and digital media changes the speed and scale of communication dramatically. One thing I especially want students to notice is that McLuhan predicted many aspects of networked global communication decades before the internet became common. His work helps us think critically about how technologies shape human behavior. Slide 7. The creative process. Triangle. This diagram introduces what I consider one of the most useful frameworks in media production: purpose, audience, and authority. Whenever you create media, ask yourself, what is my purpose? Who is my audience? And how am I establishing credibility or authority? For example, a comedy sketch, a political advertisement, a documentary, and a classroom lecture all balance these elements differently. Even tone of voice matters. One reason we are using avatars, editing tools, and different presentation methods in this course is because these technologies visibly affect audience interpretation. Slide 8. McLuhan's tetrad theory. This diagram introduces McLuhan's tetrad theory of media. The tetrad asks 4 questions about any technology. What does it enhance? What does it make obsolete? What does it retrieve from the past? And what does it reverse into when pushed too far? For example, smartphones enhance communication and access to information, but they may also reduce attention spans, blur work-life boundaries, revive older oral communication habits, and create new forms of social dependency. The tetrad helps us think about technology as a system of trade-offs rather than simply good or bad. Slide 9. Tetrad. Applied to video editing. This slide applies the tetrad model directly to modern video editing platforms like Clipchamp and iMovie. These tools enhance accessibility and experimentation by lowering barriers to media production. But they also change the relationship between creators and media workflows. For example, digital editing makes revision easier than ever before, which is wonderful, but can also create endless editing loops where creators struggle to feel finished. This is an important part of media literacy, understanding not just what tools allow us to do, but how tools shape our habits and expectations. Slide 10. Comparative analysis of editing tools. This final diagram compares several editing platforms we may use during the course: Microsoft Clipchamp, Apple iMovie, and Canva video editing. Each platform has strengths and limitations. Some are easier for beginners. Some offer stronger templates. Some integrate more naturally with particular operating systems. The important thing is not choosing the perfect platform. The important thing is learning. If you have any questions about any of this content, please do not hesitate to contact Dr. Dunn via the campus email system at MyHeritage. Thank you, everyone. Please make sure to complete the Unit 1 tasks before moving into the next unit. And remember, this course is not about perfection. It is about experimentation, reflection, and learning how communication changes through media technologies. Be seeing you on the other side of the screen.